Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dungeon Dive Hobbycast, and welcome back to the next part in the Asian DVD nostalgia trip. I hope you are doing well, and if you're not, I hope you are soon. Once again, I would like to remind people that if you're a podcast player or subscriber or aggregator or whatever they call them these days, if it does not support video podcasting, please go over to YouTube to watch this. Or maybe I watch this on an aggregator that does support video podcasting because this is way more interesting if you can see the covers. And I think there's probably going to be 2 or 3 episodes of this series left. I'm sure some of you are very much looking forward to this series being done. A small handful of you seem to be enjoying it. And then I'm also going to do, at the end, I'm also going to do a series on some books that I have, and then I'm going to be putting together probably 3 top 10 lists. I'm going to be doing a top 10 Shaw Brothers list, a top 10 general kung fu movie list, and then maybe possibly a top 10 movies I own list to incorporate some of the non-kung fu stuff. We'll see. We'll see how many I'm going to do. But let's dive right in, and we are starting well at the deep end, I guess, with here with Takashi Miike's Dead or Alive trilogy. So Takashi Miike probably has 3 really infamous movies, and that is Audition, which kind of like made him a superstar outside of Japan, and then Ichi the Killer, which kind of solidified his position as the ringleader of the extreme Asian cinema group, and then also Dead or Alive. And of all of those movies, I think Dead or Alive, the trilogy, is his best. I really enjoy this trilogy. I think it is fantastic, especially the first and second movies. Dead or Alive 1 has one of the most insane, just kind of balls out crazy openings and endings. It has the craziest ending I've ever seen in a movie, and I absolutely love it. But between those bookends, between the beginning and the end, it's kind of a pretty normal kind of Yakuza movie, Japanese gangster movie. But there's a lot of good stuff, good acting. The direction is good. And even though it gets a little dull for a while, it still was able to maintain my interest. So this is the bootleg. This is the Blu-ray, I should say, from Arrow Video of the entire trilogy: Dead or Alive, Dead or Alive 2, Birds, and Dead or Alive Final. It's a pretty bizarre trilogy in that it's more of a thematic trilogy. The final is like a space. It's in the future. It's a science fiction movie. The first one is kind of a straight ahead gangster movie, and the second one, which is my favorite, Birds, is kind of a really soft, kind of almost lighthearted drama. But the Arrow collection does come with this really nice book with some images. There's an image from the end of the first movie. Oh God, that ending is just. There's another one. There's the guy that plays Ichi the Killer there. Yeah, that ending of the first movie is a really, really something else. You just have to see it to kind of believe it. But then here is my original Dead or Alive 1 DVD from Kino. So this is the one that kind of came out in the United States. I was so happy to finally get this and see it. Will Toilet Snake Your Soul? Toilet snake? What the? Okay, I'm not sure what the San Francisco Bay Guardian is saying there, but toilet snake your soul. Is that like a snake, like a plumbing snake? Yeah, what a weird, a very, very weird quote there from the San Francisco Bay Guardian. And then here is I believe this was a Chinese version, City Connection Limited versions of 2 and 3. These might almost be bootlegs. I'm not sure. They were of dubious quality, that is for sure. So I was really happy to get the Blu-ray to replace these. And then after that, we come up to another kind of recent Blu-ray purchase of mine, and that is another King Hu film, and that is Legend of the Mountain. Legend of the Mountain is pretty good. It is very long. And at 191 minutes, King Hu made some very long movies. It's very gorgeous with some beautiful music and cinematography, and overall just has a really nice feel to it. It's just not as entertaining as I would have liked. It's pretty slow and not in like a really entertaining way, not like A Touch of Zen is, but a pretty good movie. I'm glad to finally have it on Blu-ray just because it looks so nice. And a lot of these new Blu-rays, they do have these flip covers, so you can get kind of like an old original artwork coupled with some of the new artwork. So very nice Blu-ray of that. And here we have Missing Gun. So Missing Gun, a pumping in your face style fest. Yeah, I don't remember. I would not call this movie. I would not describe this movie as an in your face style fest. It's a pretty kind of slow drama directed by Lu Chuan, and it's okay. I think I just bought this because it was on sale probably when a Blockbuster was going out of business. I think I remember picking this up for next to nothing. I saw it was a Chinese movie. I wanted it. I'd never seen it, so I wanted to check it out. And here we have, Dororo. So this is the live action version of Dororo, based off of a Japanese manga by Osamu Tezuka. Is that, my mind just completely blanked. The original author and creator of Astro Boy, among many, many others, kind of the godfather of anime. But this is a really cool series that he did about this samurai who all of his body parts basically have been stolen by these demons. And he has to go around and he has to fight all of these demons to get his limbs back. There are 48 different demons who have taken a piece of his body, and he has to go around and fight them in order to get them back. If I'm remembering correctly, the movie does not have a full end. He's not fighting all 48 of the different demons in this movie, but it does feature some pretty cool fight scenes, and I do like the movie. I like the story a lot too. There was also a pretty cool PlayStation 2 game that was based on this particular manga. And here we have another Japanese movie here, and that is Female Prisoner 701, Scorpio, Grudge Song. Probably, I would say this was kind of coming out at the height of Quentin Tarantino's popularity. Quentin Tarantino is a great champion of Asian cinema. I have learned so much from just listening to him talk about Asian cinema, seeing him present Asian cinema in LA at like the New Beverly. And yeah, that dude he knows his stuff when it comes to these kinds of extreme movies. And anytime he mentions something that I should watch, that we should watch, I always make sure to check it out. And I'm almost always happy that I did. I'm not sure if this exactly was a movie that he recommended. I know Lady Snowblood is a movie that he liked quite a bit, and that was kind of an inspiration for Kill Bill. And Lady Snowblood, we will see coming up later. That was also based on I believe the same manga, that a movie we looked at in episode 1 that I forgot the name of, and it was called Princess Blade. I believe Princess Blade is based on the same source material as Lady Snowblood. And this movie here, Scorpion, it stars Meiko Kaji from Lady Snowblood. So there is a connection there. Just kind of your typical kind of like revenge movie. And here we have a Korean movie, a Korean horror film called A Tale of Two Sisters. And this was a pretty popular movie. This movie played the film festival circuits in the United States. It was quite a hit among film fans. Directed by Kim Ji-woon. And I don't remember a lot about the movie. I do remember thinking it was pretty good and just kind of has that slow kind of horror bubbling underneath the surface and slowly rising to the top, and it gets kind of creepier and creepier as it goes. The Tartan Asia Extreme imprint was a pretty good imprint in the United States for putting out these kinds of like J and K horror films. Okay, here we have Avalon. So Avalon is one of the live action movies made by Mamoru Oshii. And Oshii, I just mentioned Oshii in my top 5 science fiction anime podcast. And he directed the Patlabor movies. Patlabor 1 and 2 are just fantastic. He did Ghost in the Shell. He did Jinro. He worked on Jinro. Um, he did some of the Urusei Yatsura movies. I think Beautiful Dreamer and Only You. I absolutely love Oshii. One of my favorite filmmakers. I really do like his live action stuff, especially Talking Head, which I've mentioned multiple times on the channel. But Talking Head is such a good movie. Hopefully, I still have the cover for that, and we'll come to it soon. But I Avalon is not one of his favorite, or not one of his better movies. It's kind of a take on Ghost in the Shell, kind of a virtual reality style. I think there's some kind of like MMO style game thing going on. It's only okay. It never quite reaches the philosophical heights that I look for in Oshii, but it does contain some of his good qualities. And this is obviously a bootleg because this says 20th Century Fox presents George C. Scott with music by Jerry Goldsmith. Okay, yes, I do not believe that Jerry Goldsmith did the music for Avalon, nor does it star George C. Scott, and nor is anybody from The Blowout or The Big Feast in it. So, wow. This is not a Francis Ford Coppola movie. A Francis Ford Coppola movie. Wow, what a bootleg this is. Very, very interesting. I know I got this in Chinatown in Vancouver, BC. Okay, so here we have another Japanese movie from the director of Versus, another one of those Red Sun bootlegs, and that is Sky High. After Versus came out, everybody kept trying to make the next Versus, and nobody ever did. And the director, Kitamura, never really made another great movie, unfortunately. And I might argue that Versus really isn't that great. It's just kind of weird and different. But Sky High was completely forgettable. And I don't really remember a thing about it, but I remember being supremely disappointed in it. Now we're jumping back to another Korean movie, kind of jumping back between Japanese and Korean cinema right now. Tell Me Something. This movie is fantastic. One of the earlier Korean crime thrillers to hit the United States. And I think one of the best. I would put this up there with I Saw the Devil and Bittersweet Life. Neither of those I have on DVD. I have those, I think, digitally. I've purchased those like on Amazon Prime. Tell Me Something is one that is often forgotten and not talked about. I think it's kind of like a Korean Seven. Not quite as noirish as Seven. It doesn't quite go into the horror territories that Seven does. It gets close, though. And there is some really fantastic sequences in this movie, including a chopped up body in a garbage bag placed in an elevator. That scene is is really, really good. But if you're looking for a cool Korean crime drama, crime thriller, and you haven't seen Tell Me Something, I highly recommend it, along with A Bittersweet Life and I Saw the Devil. I Saw the Devil is intense. And here we have another Korean movie called Natural City, and I know for a fact that I have never watched this movie, so I cannot say anything about it. And the back of the DVD cover here is all in Korean, so I'm not even able to tell you anything about this movie except for that cover there, Natural City. And here we have another Kitamura movie. So this was a post versus Kitamura movie, and that is called Alive. This movie is really long and kind of boring. It is a sci-fi movie. It does have some good atmosphere, some good sets, some good tension, but it never quite delivers on the tension. I kind of likened this movie to a Sonic Youth song that never gets to that crescendo that a good Sonic Youth song gets to. It keeps building, 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 and then it just kind of fizzles out and lets you down. And that is Kitamura's Alive. All right, and here we go with back to Takashi Miike. One of my favorite, I put this in the top 5, with Dead or Alive, Fudo, and City of Lost Souls. The Dead or Alive trilogy, City of Lost Souls, and Fudo, that's probably my top 5 Miike. But City of Lost Souls is awesome. This movie is totally wild. It has a crazy ping pong game with swinging pendulum blades. Another one of his kind of just crazy, wild, wacky gangster movies. This particular DVD from May Ah was a pretty early DVD, and I believe this one you actually have to switch the DVD over to side B to continue the movie, if I'm remembering correctly. It's a really poor quality DVD, and so I would like to get this one on Blu-ray because I think it is a really good movie. And all right, I think this is the first time we're mentioning Sonny Chiba here. So this is a double of Legend of the Eight Samurai and Shogun's Ninja. Two kind of fantasy samurai movies starring the late great Sonny Chiba. And yeah, both of these movies are pretty good. They're long, 130 minutes and 114 minutes. This is a pretty good DVD for one of those kind of cheap Diamond Entertainment double feature DVDs. But both of these movies are pretty cool. These are what I would consider like quality. You know, you're hungover on a Saturday or Sunday. It's the afternoon. You're just kind of chilling on the couch, not feeling too well, and you throw on one of these movies. It's kind of a comfort movie. It's a cozy movie that you can watch. It's long. You can kind of doze off to wake up and be entertained. Yeah, I like these kinds of movies. They remind me of the movies that I used to watch on Saturday or Sunday afternoons on television. And here we go. Here we go. Lady Snowblood here. One of the famous kind of revenge movies from Japan. Her father, a school teacher, is brutally murdered. Her mother is beaten, raped, and forced into prostitution to survive, only to die giving her life. And then she gets revenge. Lady Snowblood. Yeah, pretty good movie. Pretty brutal. It does go to some extreme places. It is pretty violent. You can definitely tell that it was a huge inspiration on Quentin Tarantino, and it's kind of one of those infamous extreme Japanese movies that is well worth the watch, but just not for the faint of heart, let's say. And here we go. We're going back to Thailand here, and that is with Tom Yong-gun and Honor of the Beast. I think this was called The Protector in the United States. It stars the Tony Jaa squad doing a lot of crazy, insane stunts. This is probably one of their better movies. It's pretty entertaining from beginning to end, and it has some fantastic action. This is, again, another one of those Banzai Media Corporation, probably some kind of bootleg here. All right, and returning back to Korea here with a really, really I don't want to say underrated because the movie isn't fantastic. It is underappreciated, underdiscussed. Hardly anybody ever mentions Resurrection of the Little Match Girl. And this is one of those post-Matrix movies. One of the first of the Asian movies to feature like bullet time. It's all about video games, and right here on the cover says Matrix style effects. Obviously, this is some kind of bootleg, most likely. But this movie is not great, but it is really interesting, and I think it does some interesting things. And if you are into science fiction and you want to see something that is a little off the beaten path, I recommend tracking down Resurrection of the Little Match Girl. And here we have another Lady Snowblood movie, the bloody conclusion to Lady Snowblood. So this is part 2, Lady Snowblood Love Song of Vengeance. Really nicely filmed. These movies, these kind of 70s, 60s, and 70s Japanese movies just have a really nice look to them. Very, very well composed shots. Pretty slow, but filled with a lot of tension. So that is Lady Snowblood. And here we have another one of Tokyo Shock, the Tokyo Shock imprint there, DVD, another Sonny Chiba movie, and this is Makai Tenshu, Samurai Reincarnation. Another one of those kind of samurai fantasy movies. Usually have some kind of magic and demons, usually a lot of nudity, that kind of thing. I believe, so this says a Jubei. I believe this was probably based on a same source material as the anime Ninja Scrolls, or very similar. If they weren't based on the same source material, they are very similar in style and in feel. So if you like that kind of more fantasy themed samurai and ninja movie, this is another movie that is worth checking out. And we'll take some liner notes for that. And this was directed by Kenji Fukusaku. So Kenji Fukusaku was a very famous, I kind of think of him as like, I don't know, maybe like the Japanese Martin Scorsese, if Martin Scorsese only did crime cinema. So Kenji Fukusaku, I believe his last movie was Battle Royale, which was like kind of like the start of that whole Battle Royale genre where a group of people go on an island and the last one living, and the last one still alive wins. Kind of set off that whole Hunger Games and all of that stuff. But he did a lot of, so Kenji Fukusaku sadly passed away January 2005 while beginning production on Battle Royale 2. I believe his son finished Battle Royale 2, if I'm not mistaken. But he made he's the godfather of Japanese crime cinema and Yakuza cinema. And here we have Makai Tensho again, Samurai Reincarnation. I think this is actually a different version than this Makai Tenshu. If I'm remembering correctly, these two movies are different, even though they are called the same thing. They're just based off the same kind of legends, if I'm remembering correctly. But this one is obviously some kind of bootleg version. All right, some big G here. I love this period of Godzilla, this middle period. What's called the Heisei period, or I can't remember, but there's like the first period, the middle period, and the late period. And this middle period of Godzilla is my favorite. These movies are absolutely awesome. Godzilla versus Space Godzilla and Godzilla versus Destroya, which is, oh man, Godzilla versus Destroya is so good. These are perfect movies to throw on a Saturday. Actually, these are good late night movies. I like watching Godzilla like after midnight movies. Godzilla versus Space Godzilla and Godzilla versus Destroya. This is two movies from the early period, and that's Godzilla versus the Smog Monster and Godzilla versus Megalon. These are pretty good, but not as entertaining for me as the middle period. And then the middle period we also had these Gamera movies. So Gamera Guardian of the Universe was one of the newer Gamera movies. And this is the movie that kind of like made Gamera super popular again after the early days. A very entertaining movie here. Godzilla Tokyo Sos. This is kind of a later period Godzilla movie. This one he has against Mechagodzilla and Mothra comes again. Godzilla versus Mothra battle to save the Earth, I believe, is the movie. That's probably my favorite Godzilla movie. Hopefully I still have the cover for that somewhere. Mechagodzilla, the superior armed, state-of-the-art, all-robot version of Godzilla, is undergoing repairs after his devastating battle against the world's monster. A pair of psychic fairies appear, so the psychic fairies from Mothra are back, the Earth fairies. And then here we have the Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. One of the remakes. This is a really good movie here, too. I love that movie. Love that cover. Man, that cover's awesome. And here we go. Yep. Godzilla versus King Githura and Godzilla and Mothra, the battle for Earth. That is my favorite Godzilla movie. Absolutely love that movie. It has so much atmosphere, so much style. It has that great little song that the two Earth fairies sing. And Mothra is the best. Mothra is the best of all the kaiju. She absolutely rules. And speaking of like kaiju and crazy Japanese fantasy movies, yokai monsters, spook warfare. Oh man, this movie is insane. I love this movie so much. If you want to see a bunch of really cool Japanese monsters from Japanese folklore and fairy tales, I highly recommend watching Yokai Monsters. There was also a part 2, but I think, or another one, I'm not sure which one is part 1 and part 2, but I liked this one the best. So really cool movie, lots of really good costumes and old style special effects, but really endearing. And just a lot of really cool atmosphere and weird things going on. Yokai Monsters, Spook Warfare. And here we have part 3. Do we have part 2 somewhere? I don't know. Part 3 of Mr. Vampire. Diminishing returns on the Mr. Vampire movies. You know, the first one, masterpiece, a stone cold classic. The second one, pretty good. And the third one, and you could probably pass on the third one. Still has some good qualities of that like hopping vampire comedy horror style kung fu movie, but just not nearly as good as part one. Dog Bite Man. I know that I have never watched this. It is a category 3 movie, so it's kind of extreme, probably either lots of nudity or lots of violence, but the DVD doesn't work. So I've never been able to watch that. And oh, all right, Ninja in the Dragon's Den. If you guys want to right now, go to YouTube, type in Ninja in the Dragon's Den theme song, and it'll come up with the opening credits for this movie. The opening credits are set to a kind of disco funk song where with lyrics about ninjas. And one of the lines, the singer actually goes, Shaka Ninja. I kid you not. It is one of the great openings with ninjas demonstrating all of their crazy abilities. This is a super, super fun movie. It has action choreography from Corey Yun, one of the great choreographers. Was it actually directed? It was actually directed by Corey Yun as well. Yeah. Starring Hiroyuki Sanada, Conan Lee, and Wang Jiang Lee, who is fantastic. Yeah, Ninja in the Dragon's Den is highly recommended. Great ninja movie. One of the top 5 ninja movies. I'd probably put this right after 5 Elemental Ninja, aka Chinese Super Ninjas, which we recently talked about. And another kind of later period Hong Kong kind of techno drama here, Princess D, starring Daniel Lee. Really underwhelming movie. The cover looks cool. I thought it was going to be maybe a little bit like Resurrection of the Little Match Girl or maybe like Avalon, but it really did not amount to much. And the main thing I remember about this movie is being disappointed by it. And speaking of disappointing, we have starring Andy Lau, which I like Andy Lau. Andy Lau is a really, really good actor. He's been in some fantastic movies, but like a lot of Hong Kong actors, he makes a lot of movies. He makes like many multiple movies a year. This was another one directed by Andrew Lau, what I like to say, the Hong Kong Michael Bay. And yeah, this movie is not very good. It's definitely a lot of special effects. I believe the Wesley's Mysterious Files was some kind of like, I want to say it's like an older Hong Kong franchise or intellectual property or something. And this was like a movie based on it. Yeah, pretty forgettable there. And The Promise. Yes, The Promise. Directed by, I'm going to absolutely blank on the director's name. I'm going to have to flash that on screen now. Cage. His last name is Cage, I think. Really interesting director. I wish I could remember all of his other movies. My mind is completely blanking. This is the problem of doing these doing these off the cuff. But stop right now. Go and look up this director. The Promise is a really fascinating movie. Absolutely gorgeous. I mean, just beautiful from beginning to end. Up there with Hero in how aesthetically pleasing this movie is and really wacky and weird. So yeah, The Promise. And a newer movie here with called Fatal Contact. And this movie starred some of the younger action directors, younger action stars. Not a great movie, but it does contain some pretty good action. And I remember it having a few really stand out action set pieces, but I don't remember much more about the movie beyond that. And here we have Mad Mission. So these should have 4 of the Mad Mission movies. So the Mad Mission movies, these were kind of spoofs on James Bond and the Marx Brothers, I guess you could say. Pretty fun movies. They were kind of like Cannonball Run. They were like Hong Kong's version of Cannonball Run mixed with slapstick humor and spy action. Maybe imagine it's a mad world with action. So let's see. We have the first one was directed by Eric Sang. So Eric Sang is a great actor, very funny guy. And then the second one was directed by Eric Sang. So we have part 2, Aces Go Places. This is probably the most famous one. Part 3 was actually directed by Choi Hawk, our man from Bond Street. And then part 4 was directed by Ringo Lam. So Ringo Lam, of course, Cities on Fire. He was probably making movies even was he making movies before or right at the same time as John Woo? But of course, Cities on Fire or City on Fire, Ringo Lam, famous for being the inspiration for Reservoir Dogs. And Ringo Lam made some really great movies. But yeah, all of the Mad Mission movies, they're not great movies, but they are super entertaining, lots of fun, and lots of crazy stunt work. Tokyo 10 plus 01, the Tokyo 11. I was never really able to get into this movie. Directed by Higuchinsky, who, man, what else did he do? He was kind of a famous guy for a while in this kind of like world cinema stage. But this movie was just, here we go. Let's see, known for video clips. He was a video director. Known for video clips, he directed for such rock artists as the Michelle Gun Elephant, among others, and for horror movies such as Long Dream and Uzumaki. So he did Uzumaki. So we have taken a look at Uzumaki. But I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, this movie was shot on video, and it was really hard to watch. It was not aesthetically pleasing, and I don't remember a lot about Tokyo 11. And here we go. One of the only kind of softcore category 3 movies I own, and maybe one of the only ones to own, and that is Sex and Zen, a kind of a sex comedy with Elvis Choi in it. Absolutely hilarious. But the movie is it stars Amy Yip. But yeah, I think this is the only one of these kind of category 3 movies that I own, and that is Sex and Zen. And here we have Bullets of Love starring Leon Lai. Leon Lai is a good, cool actor. He was in an early Wong Kar-wai movie. What was the movie that he was in with Wong Kar-wai? I can't remember. Mind blanking. But here we go. Leon Lai, Wong Kar-wai's Fallen Angels. Yeah, Fallen Angels. That's a good movie. And pretty cool movie here. Kind of just a thriller. One bullet changed his life. Revenge or love. What will he choose? And it was directed by Andrew Lau. So Andrew Lau, he directed some real stinkers, but he also directed some movies that I think are actually pretty good. So this is a movie, Choi Hawk's Vampire Hunter. Choi Hawk did not direct it. He produced it. I'm not sure who actually directed. Directed by Wilson Chin. Not a good movie. It has a couple of good parts in it, but overall, a pretty forgettable movie. I do not recommend watching this as an example of what Choi Hawk can do. I was supremely disappointed, one, because it is from Choi Hawk, and I thought it would at least be entertaining, and two, since it is about vampires, I thought there would be a lot of Chinese hopping vampires in it, and it kind of lacks in both categories. And here we have another Hong Kong kind of a supernatural thriller called 2002. This movie has some cool stuff in it. Overall, it's not very good. It does star a lot of these kind of like younger pop stars, but it does have it's a little bit like a Ghostbusters style movie. Maybe like Ghostbusters meets X-Files by way of Hong Kong. And that is 2002. And here we have like a Hong Kong superhero movie, Silverhawk, starring Michelle Yeoh. And she is the infamous Silverhawk here. And if I remember correctly, yes, this does contain some action sequences on rollerblades there. An okay movie, not one of Michelle Yeoh's best. And looks like we're returning to the world of extreme Japanese cinema. And here we have from Synapse Films. Synapse Films, they released some absolutely awesome DVDs. And this is a movie that is really gross, and that is called Organ. That is by Kei Fujiwara. I'm not familiar with the director. I probably should look to see what else this director has done because he has a really interesting style. Here's a quote from him. I wanted to describe the agony of a wounded soul of someone decaying from the inside. Yeah, this movie just kind of makes you feel gross. It kind of makes you feel like you want to take a shower after watching it. Here we go. All right. Mamoru Oshii's Talking Head. This is a masterpiece. This movie is all about an animation studio creating a movie, an animated movie. And the animated movie is obviously very based. The movie they are making is inspired by like Macross or Star Blazers, Yamamoto. And it's kind of like they're making a film that is cursed and weird stuff keeps happening while they are making the movie. From the acclaimed director of Ghost in the Shell and Pat Labor, it's nearly time for the debut of the most anticipated anime movie of the year, Talking Head. There's just a few minor problems. The director has disappeared and the movie hasn't even started. But yet this movie is so good. It's kind of like Oshii doing this kind of like meta fourth wall breaking movie about creating anime but doing it in a live action context. Just really, really good. If you have not seen Talking Head, I highly recommend tracking this movie down. And here we have Police Story. So I think this is one of the Police Story movies that also starred Jackie Chan's son. I was never a huge fan of the Police Story movies. They're okay. And this one is not even among the best of those. So Hero Makers, a really cool movie from Hong Kong Legends. So Hong Kong Legends was an imprint from the UK. And I believe that Bay Logan, so Bay Logan is somebody who I have mentioned before, was involved in helping make this. But this is a movie, this is a documentary about pretty much about kind of early 80s Hong Kong action cinema. And you get scenes from Police Story 2, The Prodigal Son, great movie, Crime Story, Game of Death, Fist of Fury, Project A, The Young Master, 2000 AD, the Scorpion King, The Killer, Dragon from Russia, Once Upon a Time in China, and just a movie all about that era of Hong Kong filmmaking. Very good movie. Bay Logan, I believe Bay Logan was involved in this. He really knows his stuff. And yeah, I was really happy to finally track down a copy of this and happy that my DVD player can play PAL DVDs. And what do we have here? Okay, another Japanese movie, obviously a bootleg. This feels very photocopied, but that is Battlefield Baseball. It is a baseball movie where a team of human players faces off against a team of zombies. And it is, you might think, wow, that sounds like Shaolin Soccer. And it does, but it's not nearly as entertaining as Shaolin Soccer. So if you go in with low expectations, you might like the movie. If you go in expecting it to be as good as Shaolin Soccer, you will probably be very disappointed. And Stacy. All right, Stacy's a really cool, another one from Synapse here. A really cool kind of weird Japanese zombie movie from Nayuki Tomamatsu. A really cool movie. Very, very Japanese. It's probably has some questionable qualities in the way it deals with young Japanese girls, but I believe that is part of the theme. It's making a statement about the way that I think young Japanese women are treated in Japanese media. This film contains scenes with chainsaws, graphic gore, extreme violence, and girls in bunny outfits. So it's a little questionable, but I think the movie is trying to make a point, and it's trying maybe to have its cake and eat it too in some places. But I do really like the movie. And these are the liner notes here. Okay, another Japanese movie, Evil Dead Trap. One of the earlier kind of J-horror films to come out, and that was, again, from Synapse Films. Man, they put out a lot of really interesting movies. This is okay. I expected it to be better. I expected it. See, a lot of problems with these movies is we would hear about these movies before the DVDs would come out. And we'd always like build them up in our heads as being like the next big crazy thing, the next Ichi the Killer, the next Versus, the next whatever, the next Audition, the next Ring. And very rarely were they that good. And Evil Dead Trap is one of those movies that I built up in my head to being this like incredibly kind of like extreme movie. And it ended up not living up to that expectation. And so maybe I didn't like it. I didn't appreciate it for what it was. I was disappointed for what it wasn't. And I think that means I need to probably rewatch some of these movies with adjusted expectations. Another Korean movie here called Yesterday, and I don't really remember anything about this movie. It's kind of a techno thriller. Not even sure who directed this one. But yep, that was Yesterday. Okay, Meatball Machine. So Meatball Machine and then Tokyo Gore Police. Of course, these two movies are together. I wish I had Meatball Machine 2. I need to buy that one because it is much better than Meatball Machine 1. But Meatball Machine is this crazy body horror, kind of a post-Tetsuo the Iron Man style movie that takes a long time to get going, but once it does, it's pretty cool. Meatball Machine 2, on the other hand, is off the charts crazy. Yeah, watch Meatball Machine 2. I don't think you need to see the original to appreciate part 2. Give part 2 a long time, though. It takes about 30 or 40 minutes to get going, but when it does, oh man, you are in for a wild ride. Tokyo Gore Police, I like a lot more than Meatball Machine. This is like extreme body horror. Lots of weird mutants with body manipulation and body modification. Just gross, gross stuff. From the producers of Machine Girl, Death Trance, and Flesh for the Beast. I really like Tokyo Gore Police. I think this is a really, really super entertaining movie. And here we have another one of those Category 3 action movies, and that is Naked Killer. I think I was probably expecting this to be a lot more sexy than it was, and it was kind of just disappointing. Starring Ching-Mi Yao, Simon Yam, which I really like Simon Yam. He's a fantastic actor. And directed by Fok Yo Long. And I do not know who that director is. I don't think this movie ever really lived up to its reputation. That is Naked Killer. And we'll look at one more movie on this episode here. And hey, let's end with a fantastic movie. Another Korean movie. Lots of Korean movies in this stack here. And that is Attack the Gas Station. Really, really funny movie. Not satisfied with the money they got from robbing a gas station the previous night, 4 juvenile delinquents decide to return and start running the station themselves. When criminals turn to real jobs to make money. Holding the staff hostage and collecting cash from the customers. Attack the Gas Station is a visually exuberant action satire in the tradition of Snatch and a tongue-in-cheek anthology of social turmoil in contemporary South Korea. I think it's kind of like a weird Korean comedy version of Dog Day Afternoon, maybe a little bit. Really good movie. It ends up being like really heartfelt and kind of endearing. It's really funny. The characters are great. Their bickering amongst each other is fantastic. Yeah, really, really cool movie. And that is Attack the Gas Station. And I think we will finish up the next episode. We'll have one more episode of this series. So we will talk to you later, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. Take it easy. Bye-bye.